Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's episode, we're talking about what drives vendors to sponsor B2B events and therefore what our event needs to have in order to attract prospecting sponsors. Don't go anywhere. The vast majority of B2B events with a commercial outcome will always have two main type of personas attending it. On one side the corporates and on the other the vendors. So let's go and figure out who is who. Now, depending on the job function or industry that your event is focusing on, the corporates are always going to be representing your core delegate base. Those individuals, in other words, that will buy a ticket for educational purposes, to network with other peers within the industry, and generally for learning. So in other words, if you're, for example, running an IT event, they may be IT directors. If you're running a marketing event, they may be, for instance, chief marketing officers. Vendors, on the other hand, represent that category of individuals and businesses who have either a service or a product that is relevant for the industry or job function that your delegate base is from. So if you reuse the example of the IT or marketing conference, if it's an IT conference, your vendor could be a IT software house, and if you're doing a marketing event, it could, for example, be like a marketing agency. Which ultimately leads us to where we want to be today in discussing what drives a vendor to sponsor a B2B event. So if when talking to vendors within your sales role, you're able to demonstrate that your event is the go-to place for their most sought after target individuals of interest, that is the beginning of a potential conversation around sponsorship and on an outcome where that company ends up investing a marketing budget into your event. While the reasons for a vendor to sponsor a corporate event can be many, in reality what you'll find is that a majority of organizations out there, they will always do it for either raising their profile and awareness, associating themselves with a particular topic area where they want to demonstrate thought leadership, or to simply generate leads or demand. So what is it about events that may trigger a vendor to decide to invest a marketing budget towards sponsorship versus investing that same budget against a non-physical marketing activity? Similarly to how you as a sponsorship salesperson are investing your time and effort in trying to get hold of those prospecting sponsors that are going to invest into your event, those same organizations are investing their time and effort in trying to get hold of those end user customers that are going to represent the revenue throughout the year. Those vendors' success is also heavily reliant on being able to get hold of the ultimate decision makers, particularly if their value proposition is of substantial complexity or if it requires a substantial investment. And as we already established that these target individuals are particularly hard to get utilizing traditional communication channels, one thing that the event does promise is that these individuals are physically going to be there on the day. And since their target persona is likely to be of reasonably high seniority, the outreach operation is going to require a lot of time, effort, and resources. While it's highly unlikely that a vendor may start putting all their eggs into the event sponsorship basket and stop altogether their day-to-day outreach efforts, it is very possible that they may start utilizing events as a tool to complement and add on to the activity that they're already carrying out. And if by attending the event your sponsor can convert even just one single piece of business on the back of a meaningful conversation on site, the commercial agreement that can come on the back of it can easily be multifold or whatever investment you've asked your sponsor to put against the event, particularly if you're in sectors like technology. Having said this, while these face-to-face one-to-one interaction are extremely important, there are many vendors whose sole objective is to get noticed, to get known, and to be recognized. And for those type of companies, an exhibition stand or a branded opportunity within the event may be just enough to tick the right boxes for them. And it can often even come down to pure perception building, simply showcasing that you are the type of business that mingles in the right circle where the influential people are. But there is one type of sponsorship format that many vendors are really seeking for and they're willing to put large budgets towards, and that is session hosting. For a large part of commercial B2B event organizations, these session hosting, or as some other people call it, speaking packages, represent the real high-end real estate within your sponsorship portfolio. So unless you're running a trade show or an exhibition, these speaking packages ultimately represent where the largest chunk of your sponsorship revenue is going to come from. Depending on the type of guidelines that the event business that you're working for follows, you may be able to give more or less flexibility to your sponsor on what he can and he can't do on stage within the session that they're hosting. I always felt that what warrants delegates to return to your event and to have a positive experience out of it in the first place is the quality of your content. So be really careful who you put up on stage and what you allow your sponsors to talk about and how to deliver the content that they have in mind. It can be easy to be lured into the prospect of closing a big ticket sponsorship deal that involves your vendor to be able to talk about X, Y, and Z on stage. But ultimately, if you've got the long-term business success of your event at heart, you do have to draw some guidelines on the best way for your sponsors to go about communicating their offering to an audience. While a large chunk of sponsors will quantify the value of your event by the amount of revenue that can generate on the back of the connections made there, you'll be surprised how much value they actually put against the opportunity to demonstrate their thought leadership on stage, but most importantly to draw people's attention towards an area of expertise that may be particularly obscure or not hasn't been particularly well marketed, or simply that has been recently launched. And this is actually one of the main reasons these huge multinational brands with unlimited resources, huge client base, established history, they still find it worth the while investing into event sponsorships. The last point I want to make is around the competition of your prospecting sponsor. In other words, the impact that having those competitors already confirmed at your event can have in the decision-making process of your prospect. If your delegate acquisition campaign meant that you've got top delegates coming to the event, and if the sponsors that you already confirmed are of very similar nature to the one that you're currently talking to as a prospect, it's going to be very easy for that company to justify being there. They certainly wouldn't want to endow all of the business to their competitor, right? So just to recap, the key reasons for a sponsor to get involved in a B2B event include the ability to complement existing marketing activities they're already pursuing elsewhere, as a shortcut to get in front of individuals of interest that they're targeting, as a way to get recognized and get known, as a ways of being perceived as somebody that is actively part of the community, to demonstrate expertise and thought leadership around a specific subject matter, and ultimately to avoid their competitor to fast-tracking themselves in front of their customers. So I hope you found today's session useful. As per usual, I would really appreciate if you could press the subscribe button, like the video, and most importantly leave any comments below so that I can actively start tackling some of your questions, get some ideas for future episodes on the topics that you might want me to cover, and most importantly to know that you guys think that this is of any worth. Alright, stay tuned for next episode coming soon. Bye.